Of course, being interested in UFOs and the possibility of ET visitation, I'm going to be watching the new TV series Project Blue Book, which is supposedly based on the actual factual accounts from the Blue Book investigation that was carried out by J. Allen Hynek, who I think was an astronomy professor on behalf of the Air Force, and with Captain Ruppelt, or Lieutenant Ruppelt. Although Hynek's name is used in the TV series, Ruppelt's isn't. Donald Kehoe's in there. But yeah, I don't know quite why that might be the case, but anyway. Okay, so obviously there's an awful lot of stuff put in for dramatic effect. Now, a very long time ago, I read the book Project Blue Book, and I don't know what the hell happened to that. I probably left it in England, that book. Maybe I'll see if I can get another copy and reread it, but I certainly don't remember a lot of the stuff. This is the Lubbock Lights episode. I don't remember anything in there about the air traffic controller's car being crinkled up by intense heat or something. And I don't recall anything about all the lights going out in front of the UFO. Actually, I'm not going to show the clip, but I think it's quite interesting where, you know, the lights go past in V formation. They go past the control tower, and it sort of goes whoop, 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 as it goes past, like a sort of decelerating Volkswagen Beetle. Yet the accounts from the people that saw the lights say there was no sound. Now, apparently the lights were identified, but they're not going to tell us what it was. So I suppose it remains an interesting case. Unfortunately, the picture taken by Mr. Hart, and I might show you that in another clip, shows a V formation of lights, whereas most of the witnesses, including the university professors, described a semicircle of lights. So that's a bit odd. You know, Hart maintains his picture is genuine. It's a little bit odd that his picture is of a different formation than what everyone else was reporting. So, yeah, a bit odd there. Take that with a pinch of salt. But what I do think is quite interesting, I'm just gonna start this. Now I've got the sound muted. Actually, I'll unmute the sound because. Now this is where that's J. Allen Hynek. He's gone out there with the sheriff to take some pictures of this car. Now this is apparently the air traffic controller's car, so it gets even more dramatic. The air traffic controller's car, and when you see this, the air traffic controller is now in hospital, warbling incoherently. When you look at this car, I've never actually seen a car depicted like this in a science fiction thing. When it's you know, when the UFO goes over and there's all blinding lights coming through the windows. That's obviously a model, sadly. But if you look at that, hang on, where's the remote? Now, if you look at that, actually no, let's just play on a little bit so you can get a better view of it. I think. Now if you look at this, are we going to get a better view of it? Yeah, there we go. So when you look at it, you've got the, you know, the whole thing is all crinkled up. Look at the headlight. Look at that headlight, how crinkly the headlight is. And the bonnet is all rippled up, just like the metal was actually melted. It's been deformed by intense heat or, you know, magnetic radiation of some kind. Now, I don't recall any of that being in the in Project Blue Book with regard to the Lubbock Lights. Perhaps you can leave a comment below if you can, or you can leave a link to some evidence of that. But a lot of stuff added for dramatic effect. I mean, look at that headlight. Now, something I do think is quite interesting. I'm quite enjoying the series, although, to be honest, I don't think it's terribly well filmed, and there's an awful lot of science fiction in there. They've got to put some science fiction in there to sort of jazz it up a bit, because if they just told the story straight out of the Blue Book, it would be it wouldn't be very interesting or entertaining. Hang on, let's just press play again and move this on. Actually, let's
mostly near the university. It's a regular ride on campus.
Let's go back a little bit. Just wanted to get Hynek talking.
Thermal strain can cause tensile stress in some metals like this, but if that was electrical, it would have to be tuned to the right frequency.
Tuned to the right frequency. David Icke's favourite word. They love it.
This blackout people been reporting, what do they know about that?
Oh yeah, I don't think there was a blackout, was there? There was no blackout in the real story.
The power grid out here isn't the best. Could have just been the old lines. But blackouts don't usually send folks into a blind panic. Tied up our phone lines pretty good last night.
Last night?
Yeah, we've been traveling. We don't know anything about this. Mostly near the university. It's a regular ride on campus.
Yeah, what I actually wanted to get was just to... Let's just get Hynek talking there.
Thermal strain can cause tensile stress in some metals like this, but if that was electrical, it would have to be tuned to the right frequency.
It's black.
Yeah, now I'm surprised Ben Jones didn't notice this. But the guy they've got to play Hynek looks and sounds exactly like Richard Dolan. He looks nothing like J. Allen Hynek. He looks and sounds exactly like Richard Dolan. And I do actually have Richard Dolan here on the smaller screen. There we go. So... Come on, adjust the brightness. Oh, it's not going to do it. Oh, you bugger. There we go. So there we are. There's Hynek from the TV series Project Blue Book, standing there with the sheriff. And there's Richard Dolan. Now let's just listen to Richard Dolan.
I've written and talked many times about the universally banal and superficial portrayal of UFOs in our media. It's not something that has happened for just a few years, but it's happened for decades.
Yeah. Now, this guy, he looks and he sounds. I reckon that's deliberate myself. Now, Richard Dolan's not happy with the way that UFOs and ET stuff is being presented, and he's controlled disclosure, rebranding UFOs. That's because people are losing interest. People are realising there's really not very much going on. People are realising that Richard Dolan spruiks science fiction. I think I did a video before talking about Richard Dolan and all these crashed ET crashed craft he was talking about that had all been filtered through one particular author. And he said there was evidence. I've never seen any. If you have, perhaps you could leave a link to it below. I'd really like to look at it. But so we just heard Richard Dolan there. We'll just hear that again.
And indeed our entire lifetimes. I often come back to it because it's something that I would say is fundamental.
Yeah, it's fundamental to Richard Dolan's income. You remember, Richard Dolan has said he's never going to... He decided he was never going to do a real job, and he's made a living out of spruiking all this ET, UFO and nonsense. Okay, well, let's just go back to the big screen again. Get the brightness up. And let's just hear the voice of Hynek.
How people been reporting? What do they know about that? The power grid out here isn't the best.
But there's not a mark on
What's thinking?
Thermal strain can cause tensile stress in some metals like this, but if that was electrical, it would have to be tuned to the right frequency.
Yeah, so I think they've deliberately got someone that looks and sounds like Richard Dolan for this, for reasons best known to themselves. Perhaps it's because they know that, well, I was going to say they know Richard Dolan loves science fiction, and come to think of it, they might just as well have got Richard Dolan here to play the part of J. Allen Hynek in Project Blue Book, and he could have made a real living out of UFOs and flying saucers. once you get on a TV stars what do you call it, payroll, salary, you're away. They give you piles of money for doing very little. So yeah, I think really they may as well have got Richard Dolan to do this job as J. Allen Hynek, because he loves science fiction. That's all we ever see on his channel, and he loves flying saucers and anything like that. So he could improve his income spruiking the science fiction nonsense that he usually spruiks. All right, well, just an observation. Let's just have a quick look at the Lubbock lights. Okay, so here is apparently Mr. Hart's photograph of the Lubbock lights, or one of them. Don't quite know what this is. I don't know what this is, or this. It's pretty clear to see that whatever the lights are, there doesn't appear to be anything connected. They're not part of a structure, so this is not part of a big V-shaped structure, because you can see that they're not joined together. They're not sitting on. All these lights are not sitting on a surface. Now, because there isn't any motion to the lights, there's been a theory put forward that it's actually a bunch of migrating, or what do you call a flock? Yes, a flock, a bunch. I watch too much American television. A flock of migrating birds, and it was the new sodium lamps, the new sodium street lamps in Lubbock, Texas. The light from those reflecting off the undersides, the oily undersides of the birds. Now, even though I think that it's far more likely that it's going to be a flock of migrating birds than it is to be an alien spacecraft, or even a group of alien spacecraft flying in V formation. I think that explanation is unlikely, and to be honest. So what could that be? I don't know. This is quite an interesting one. It's a good one. I think it's interesting that these lights appeared shortly after they'd introduced sodium street lights. So is there something to do with these street lights reflecting off of, I don't know what time of... Actually, yeah, well, I should have researched it a little better. I should have looked at what time of year it was, because if it's in winter, then there could be a lot of water moisture in the air. It could be a little bit misty, and it could actually just be street lights reflecting and refracting through it. Yeah, it's hard to say without actually looking at the motion of the lights, because apparently these lights were moving. Anyway, yeah, interesting one. The Lubbock lights. I certainly couldn't explain that. If that's a real picture, remember that the Hart picture shows a V formation, and the professors and other witnesses that saw it described it as being semicircular, not a V formation. So is this a fake? Who knows? But and the other thing too is, of course, that if it was something like that, because this has been explained away as a perfectly natural phenomenon, but they're not going to tell us what it is. If it's a perfectly natural phenomenon, has it been seen many times since? You know, if it hasn't, then it's probably not a perfectly natural phenomenon, is it? It wasn't seen before the sodium street lamps. Was it seen after? Many times. Is it still? Are these lights still seen to this day? You see, the other thing too is, of course, that they say that apparently that they can't say. Although there's a natural explanation for this, they're not going to say what it is because it will identify the person that discovered it. Well, many years have passed. Is the person still alive? Also, the other thing is that this could easily be attributed to one of the investigators. You could say, well, yeah, thanks, Prof, or whoever it was. I'll keep your name out of it. I'll give the explanation and say that I came up with it. So why wasn't that done? That would be a fairly easy thing to do, you would think. So yeah, there we go. I'd forgotten all about the Lubbock lights. I had heard of it, but yeah, the episode of Project Blue Book about the Lubbock lights made me have another look at it. All I can say about that really is interesting one, but. I do think it's funny. I really think it's funny about with regard the Richard Dolan clone there. Yes, we're going to put a lot of science fiction into some ET stories, and we want the star of the show to look like someone that puts a lot of science fiction into ET stories. I know, we'll use Richard Dolan. I reckon this guy actually watched Richard Dolan, watched his videos. Because he's got the look and the voice almost perfect, I think. I'm really surprised. Actually, Ben Emlyn-Jones did a review, didn't he, of Project Blue Book? I don't think he actually mentioned that, did he? You see, I've heard him say that he thinks I look like Richard Dolan, but yeah, I can't see the resemblance there myself. But then we all know that Ben Emlyn-Jones has a very distorted view of reality. All right, well, I think I'll leave this one there. So, as always, thanks for struggling through the video all the way to this point, if you have. And perhaps I'll catch you again.